Welcome to Lipstick Attitude, hosted by Dr. Elizabeth King, psychotherapist, hypnotherapist, author, and motivational speaker, specializing in trauma and women's mental health, and Yvonne Haase, psychotherapist and coach specializing in relationships, couples, and women's issues. This show is your dose of inspiration, information, and laughter. In each episode, Dr. King and Yvonne bring you hacks, tips, and inspiring stories to help you live a successful life. So ladies, grab your lipstick. It's time to do this. The Lipstick Attitude podcast is powered by Suit Stilettos and Lipstick Foundation, a nonprofit movement to empower women and children from all walks of life to be resilient, self-confident, and purposeful leaders through education, mentorship, and community outreach. To learn more, visit sslwomen.org. Please note that this show is intended to empower and educate. It is not meant to be utilized as a substitute for individual therapy.
Well, hello, everyone. Here we are again, the Lipstick Attitude, the podcast. Yvonne, are you so excited about this podcast? I still am pinching myself.
I know. You have no idea when my podcast app reloads and refreshes with all the latest ones, and there's our picture next to like the famous people that I listen to. I'm like, holy cow, I am on my own app. Like, this is the most surreal and exciting ever for me. But you know, I'm a podcast junkie, so it's my jam.
I know, that is your jam. Absolutely. So now you get to hear us every single day. Even if you don't have enough podcasts, listen to it again, please. We need a lot of listeners. You do.
I do. I listen to it every time it comes up. I'm like the first one on there.
Well, I hope that everyone that's listening and watching has already subscribed to our podcast channel. We are on iTunes, Spotify, and Podbean. And soon to be hopefully on more. I don't know.
I don't even know all the platforms. We still haven't even figured out how many there are, but we'll be on all of them.
We won't tell everybody. We're just learning all of this. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Dr. Elizabeth King, and
I'm Yvonne Haase.
And
super excited
to have a very special guest today. Oh my gosh, I'm so very excited. I know she's nice and quiet over there, but I know she has a lot to share. Our very good friend, our sister, Sassy sister, one of our very first honorary chairwomen. Let's see, oh my gosh, the list goes on. And Sassy to the old get out. So here, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Ina Lee, who is the owner of Travelhost magazine of Greater Fort Lauderdale. And Ina, you have been with us since we launched this crazy movement, empowerment movement back in 2012. And I cannot wait to share your story. I know we've shared it on our stages for the conferences. I know we have shared it on video, but now to have you here on our podcast is just an honor. So with no further ado, why don't you say hello to our listeners and viewers, Ina Lee.
Well, I am so excited to be with you, Elizabeth and Yvonne. First of all, I haven't seen you in a very long time, right? No. And here we get to see each other this way, but this is the new world we're living in. We've become Zoomies, you know? I don't know if that's a word that we're coining, but it's all about Zoom right now. And that's quite frankly how I've been running my business since March. And also, you know, I'm probably on multiple calls a week with Zoom in terms of my community-related accountabilities as well. So it's the new world we're living in.
It is the new world, but thank God that we have this new world. Yvonne was just saying right before we went on the air, what would have happened if we did not have this technology, right?
You know, I mean, so many people are talking about how lonely they are and how lonely they're feeling, you know, with all of this going on. But the reality is we have such an amazing opportunity to be able to connect and see each other. Granted, it's not the same, but if this had happened 30 years ago, I can't imagine some of the loneliness that people would be experiencing, because you really can't connect the same way. The technology just wasn't there.
I am letting you know I'm in my office by myself at the moment because my staff is working remotely. So if you hear little dings and things, that's my computer, Outlook saying, hey, you got a message or something. So I apologize for that.
No, no worries. We have the same thing going on. All of us, all of us are working remotely. So anyone listening understands the struggle. The struggle is real. It truly is.
I went to log on to a company, I don't remember what it was for, but there's a sign up on the website that says, please understand that our staff is working diligently from their home. Do not complain if you hear their dog barking or a child crying in the background. We're doing the best we can.
Yeah,
and I was like,
awesome.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Well, in a way, we're sharing our personal lives, even in a business sense, because we're seeing people's bedrooms or whatever they're doing their Zooms from, or their kids or their dogs. And that's what I love about it, actually, because it really shows us as we have a complete life. It's not just our work life. I've always felt that my work and my play are the same. And this kind of allows that. Now, I don't have kids running around at the moment, and I'm in my office by myself. But I think that's one of the things this new thing has taught us, is that there's very little differentiation between our work and our home life or whatever else we've got going on in our life, because it's showing up on Zoom, right?
It is showing up on Zoom. And you see all the journalists, all the broadcasters, they're all they were in their pajamas the other day. One of the broadcasters from Channel 10, she was like, no, it was Good Morning America. She was in her jammies with her dog on her lap. She's like, I didn't feel like getting dressed this morning. Thank God she had really cute, and she's very cute pajamas, and she would look amazing. So this is the new world, and I think that, people need to understand that this is the new norm, and I think it's going to be around for a long time, if not forever. We're learning to get creative, and what I say, I know there are a lot of people struggling out there, and we really want to make sure that we're connecting with people in all different platforms during this difficult time, because I say social distancing does not mean social disconnection. And it's so important that people understand that through this podcast, through our Facebook Live, through Zoom calls and happy hours, whatever it takes, just make sure that you're connecting with other human beings, because we're made to do that. We're not really made to do this technology thing, but this is the best that we can do, and we have to find creative ways to continue connecting with others. And I'm so happy to see you, Heina, because we have not seen each other since this whole craziness began. But I am actually going to be posting your bio, because it's so profound and intense and so rich, and I want everybody to know about you, but I want them to hear from you. And we invited you to this podcast because the Lipstick Attitude really is a way for us to share women's stories, whatever the story is. And lipstick is our war paint, is what we wear to go out there and face the world. So it really symbolizes courage and bravery and all of the different life hacks that we figure out in our lives to continue and be successful. So today, we really are so honored to have you in this program, because your story is it's just so inspiring and empowering. So I don't know if the best way for us to start, I guess, for me to ask is the question is, how did you get Travelhost started? And what really gave you the impetus to get this amazing magazine, which, by the way, at the end, I want you to share with everyone how they can participate or be part of Travelhost, because it's such a beautiful magazine.
All right, so I'll take you back to the beginning, guys. First of all, I'm 74 years old, so way back at the beginning was a while ago, right?
Which is mind-boggling, by the way.
Actually, everyone's got a story, okay? And everyone's got their own challenges, their own life, their own triumphs, and this is just mine, okay? So I was actually born in West Hartford, Connecticut, right the day my father came home from World War II. So that was that era. And my mother was a stay-at-home mom. And my father, got back from the war, and he was in the tobacco business back then. And I had a really wonderful childhood. My sister and my brother and I, we were loved, we were taken care of, and that was my, and I did really well in school, but I knew from a very early age, I was not like everyone else in a way that I was always called to make a difference in some way. Even when I was a teenager, I remember being the head of the Sister City program in Hartford, Connecticut, and we had someone, the mayor of Concepcion, Chile, stay in my home. And I was the writer for the newspaper back then. But then I went away to school and I met a boy, and I got married, and I ended up going to New York City. And this was back in 1966, guys. So a long time ago. Many of you on this program weren't even born back then. And I was going to go back to college, but I started working at a small magazine, and it opened up a door for me to become the youngest managing editor in the country at the age of 21 of a national magazine. The magazine was called Status. It was very similar to Town and Country back then. But back then in New York City, magazines were in their heyday. They weren't even businesses. I worked with some of the greatest artists and art directors and writers, and really was very blessed. But it was a 24/7 kind of job. I loved it. And I ended up moving to California to work on a magazine. And it was very exciting back then too. But I was not feeling great. I remember all the tension was starting to get to me. I had little belly aches, but I was driving to the printing plant one morning to oversee our magazine on press. It was like very early in the morning, and I had a car accident. It wasn't major, but it was a catalyst for me. I sliced up my chin. And I remember walking into the office 3 days later with a bandage on my chin, and I resigned. It was a wake-up call for me. And because I'd always been like this type A personality, I guess I still am in some ways, but
yes.
And I realized it was a catalyst for my life. And you have to remember, this was back in the 60s, folks. And so I moved out to Venice Beach, and I became a hippie. And I was a flower child. My hair was all the way down my back, and I got some great California pot. Happy, and I didn't have happy to admit it, but my life changed. And I even remember back, and I don't recommend it now particularly, but I did some psychedelics, and it opened up a whole world for me that it wasn't just about me and my going to work every day. There was a connectivity of human beings and humanity. And so that started a journey for me, but I also met a man who later became my husband, and he taught me how to meditate. And guess what? All my physical ailments went away. And I really, from that point on, and this is now almost 50 years later, meditation has become a real critical cornerstone in my life because it gave me the balance I was missing. And then, long story short, we drove across country, and I ended up going back to New York City to work on a magazine. That ended up not happening, and I moved out to Southampton, Long Island. We were hippies again. And so again, back then, different time, my kids were born on food stamps. I had no money, and I know what it is to stand in a food stamp line. And I share that because women, no matter where you're at, never be ashamed of what you have to do. Never be ashamed. So I share that, and I had a Volkswagen van, and now I have a nice car. Like, life has changed, right? But we were hippies back then, and eventually moved down to, long story short, moved a lot of places in between, moved down to Florida. And I had 2 children. My child was, when we moved down here, was 4 and 7. I moved down in a Volkswagen van with 2 cats, a dog, the husband at the time, and my kids. And pulled up to my sister's home and ended up living here. But my husband split soon after that. So I was a single mother needing to support 2 children. They were 4 and 7. And I re-entered the workforce, and I entered an ad as the editor of Travelhost of Miami. And I remember I vowed that I would bring the balance I learned during my hippie days, and I'm still a hippie at heart. And so I would never work weekends, and I would never work evenings, and I never have, other than in stuff I love doing. So I brought the balance I learned during my hippie days into my work environment. And pretty soon after that, in 1980, someone bought the franchise, because Travelhost is national, it's been around for 52 years. And I worked with someone who bought the franchise for Fort Lauderdale. So I moved up here and I started working for him, and we started this wonderful journey of creating Travelhost back then. And then he wanted to sell it, so I bought it. So I've been the owner for many years. But back then, I was the sole person. I did everything myself, the selling of advertising, the managing of all the financial stuff, like everything one needs to do to build a business. And it was exciting, but it was a challenge, because I was the, I eventually added some staff. I ended up bringing in on an assistant who was wonderful, and a couple salespeople. So for me, it grew, and now we have 9 people on staff. But I think the thing that made the biggest difference for me, besides building the business, which I love, we have amazing clients, and our magazine is a tourist publication. Up and now, because of COVID, obviously it's challenged right now, but our job is when someone comes to town, to let them know where to go and what to do, because they want to be here enjoying themselves. And so we have great clients. We work with great hoteliers, but very early on, I got involved in the community, and I ended up creating Winterfest. Now, the boat parade was already happening, but I saw you remember back in the 80s, Fort Lauderdale was the home of spring break. That's what everything was. Our whole economic engine was spring break back then. And then that changed, because the community kind of got overrun by these kids, but it went through a very bleak time. A lot of the businesses on Fort Lauderdale Beach closed because they used to make all their money in 6 weeks. Well, that was killed, because at the same time, the city passed the open container law, where you couldn't have an alcoholic beverage east of the intercoastal. They arrested 900 kids. And word got back to the college campuses very quickly: Fort Lauderdale doesn't want us anymore. And $150 million worth of business was gone within 2 years, with nothing to replace it. So back then it was really challenged. I got very involved. I got very involved in the redevelopment of Fort Lauderdale Beach. But back then I saw the opportunity to take the boat parade, which had been going on. A bunch of guys got together and strung up some lights and drank a lot of beer, and created it as a national festival.
It's a beautiful festival.
The destination. What better than 100 yachts going up the intercoastal to change the image,
Absolutely.
right? And back then, Channel 7 was an NBC affiliate. We brought Willard Scott in from the Today Show. He did the weather on Fort Lauderdale Beach 3 years in a row, and that really launched the new Fort Lauderdale. And from then, many other community involvements and stuff, which I love, particularly anything dealing with the redevelopment of Fort Lauderdale Beach and now tourism. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, that's 40 years and 3 minutes. It sounds like sounds like a movie.
It sounds like it went like this.
And by the way, Travelhost put my kids, they took care of us, from food stamps. My kids, both went to school, and my son here is now a doctor. My oldest son lives in Reno with my granddaughter. I have a 15-year-old granddaughter who lives in Reno, who I adore, Jaden, and my grandson, Jasper, who lives here. He's 5. He's my pride and joy. And so my kids grew up. They're now in their 40s, but that's the way it was back then. But I know what it takes for a woman to balance it all. And back then, women were not very much in business. You have to remember the times. There weren't a lot of business owners around, right? And so I had to deal with all of that, like what it takes to be a woman in a primarily, and by the way, there's still a good old boys club around. Let's not forget that. But women have really made huge progress, right? And I fight for that all the time. I am not shy. so I'm not afraid to say it the way it is. And that sometimes bothers me, right? It's like, no, but I just speak what I think is my truth. So that's a very long, how I got started with Travelhost. Travelhost is now, I love it. Look, Travelhost is my baby, since for 40 years. And now, we're fully digital. We have, besides our printed publication, social media, like that whole new world, right? Like the world of Zoom. So that's that piece of it, folks.
Thank you.
I have a question for you, Ina. So when you were taking off and doing this with the magazines and then building a business, did you know how to build a business? Because I think a lot of what stops women is fear. Like, I'm going to get there and this is something I want to do, but I'm terrified to do it. And then I'm terrified that other people are going to find out I don't know what I'm doing. Right. So did you know? And if you didn't know, like, how did you overcome that?
I was a magazine editor, folks. So I knew how to do that thing, but I never sold an ad in my life until I started with Travelhost. And that whole business model of going out and selling advertising, by the way, that's our only revenue source. And I didn't know very much about accounting or like that whole world. So, but I got great people around me who did. And I think that's one of the things for women is don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to get what you need. I know what I know, but there's a lot I don't know. But the people that I have on staff or the people I go to in my community, they know. They're the experts. I have a finance manager. I can balance my checkbook. That's about it, right? But algebra was not my strong suit in school, guys. And I never even got a college degree. When I left college, it was in the middle of my junior year to get married. I never went back. It never stopped me. So I didn't. Now, by the way, I think there's fear. But the difference is, do you let your fear stop you? Okay. Now back then, and I share it besides meditation, which was a very important cornerstone of my life and still is, I still meditate pretty much every day, and I teach a free meditation class I have for years. I did a program called the Landmark Forum. It's a 3-day transformational program. I did it back in the 80s. And it really has you look at how are we designed as human beings? And one of the things about human beings is we're designed to survive. We came out of the reptilian model, right? All survival, which by the way, we are reactivated with right now. The world we're living in, it takes a lot to manage the fear. You turn on the news, guys, you get reactivated. So, and we don't want to make that wrong. We have to own our humanity. But the difference is, do you let it stop you? So one of the things for me, I saw early on when I did the forum, is I always wanted to be known as successful. So I didn't do anything that I thought I could fail at. Well, who made that up? It's just some simple guys, right? So after I saw that conversation, which was a very early conversation in my life from when I was a little kid, right? I said, well, I had a choice in the matter. So I remember right after that, I was, chairing Winterfest. I went to the county commission and I asked them for $500,000 to bring the Bob Hub Christmas special here. Now, was I afraid? Yes, but I was standing for something. I was standing for something in the face of my fear. So I think that as all people, not just women, we are going to be afraid in life. If we are not afraid, we're not playing big enough. If we always do what's safe, we're not playing big enough. Failure, and again, I think from an early age, failure was something we were taught to avoid. Don't want to get a bad mark in school, right? So we always are out to prove ourselves or whatever our own version is of that, right? But so now I may have fear about different things, right? But I know the only thing that makes a difference is taking action. So if you want results in life, what actions are appropriate to take? And that action doesn't work, take another action. Also get great coaches around you, people that support you and your vision. When I did the forum and I said that I was going to stand for the redevelopment of Fort Lauderdale Beach, and back then it was, little mom and pop places, right? I had no credentials, but I stood for my vision. And then I got people enrolled in my vision. And now look what the beach has become. They even have a star for me on Fort Lauderdale Beach called I'm a tourism icon. So people get to walk all over me every day, and I don't mind, right? But it was because I stood for something. So all of us have something, well, hopefully have something that turns you on.
Which is actually this is actually a good segue for the question that I have for you, because I want our listeners and viewers to really hone in on this. What propels you? What's your why? What makes you be so strong and headstrong to keep going forward? What is it? What's your secret sauce, Saina?
My purpose in life is very simple. It's to make a difference. However that looks with whatever I'm doing, whether it's teaching a meditation class, whether it's talking to you right now, whether it's making a difference for a client, or what I do in the community right now, particularly with what we're all dealing with. Tourism is the hardest hit area in the year because of COVID. Thousands and thousands of people have lost their jobs. It's really heartbreaking, right? So, but I think that it really is important to stand for something. And for me, it's my life is given to make a difference in life, however that looks, and it changes for me ongoingly. So if I'm with somebody and that person is having whatever they're dealing with, how can I make a difference and serve that person? So that's my why. If I'm with my grandchild, that makes a difference.
And so I guess, go ahead,
Sorry.
Yvonne. I have so many questions for her.
I know, right? Like we're diving in because, well, first of all, because I feel like I haven't seen you in forever, and second, I love your story and the message that you have. I have to share with everyone. So you have this like amazing sense of balance. Well, it's amazing to me because I'm still half off kilter. But one time we were in your office and you said something like, "Oh no, my staff is done at 5." Like boom, 5 o'clock. And I said, "Well, what about your deadlines and your projects and all of that?" And you said, "Oh no, they'll come back tomorrow and we'll work on it. At 5 o'clock, their job is done. I don't want them answering emails. I don't want this. Your life has to have balance." And my first thought was panic for your company. Like I was like, "Oh my God, how are you doing that?" Right? But this sense of balance that you have, I think that so many of us, male or female, I don't even think it matters, although I think honestly women suffer with a lack of balance a little bit more, it to me is amazing. Like, so how did you learn to incorporate that in while you're like tucking fear in your back pocket, bringing Willard Scott here, doing all of this crazy
Doing
stuff,
community work up the wazoo.
Community work, grandchildren, and then you're like, "Oh, let me go meditate." I am jealous of you.
And we want the secret, please.
And we want the secret.
So by the way, this was not something that in my early years, I was 180 degrees this way. Listen, I was a magazine editor, then became a hippie. That's like going from one extreme to the other, guys, right? So yeah. From one male relationship to another male relationship. It was like, so it wasn't like I had balance, folks. But one of the things, again, I think this comes with, I think maybe the age or something, my age. And I own my age. That's why, hey, I'm 74. This is what 74 looks like. I'm not ashamed to say that. I'm proud to say that. But for me, I think balance, taking care of my body, taking care of my soul, that's what meditation does for me, my family, my relationships, my business, my community. It's like all of those balls in the air, rather than trying to frenetically balance the balls, I dance with them. And I think there's this great quote from the Zen master, I used it at the beginning, that he says, "I don't see any difference between my work and my play." He's doing both. So it's not like, well, I'm gonna stop working now and go play, right? Now, for my staff, and I learned this from them, some of them are millennials. they have learned more about balance than we have in our little finger, okay? And they're done at 5. And you know what? We get the job done. We really do. And they are loyal. My sisters work with me for 34 years. My managing editor's been with me for 25 years. Carol, my finance manager, for 17 years. I mean, we have been together a long time. And it's like a family. Now, it's a little challenging right now. Our family's all on Zoom together, but you know what? It works great. So we've adapted. But balance, whatever that looks like for you. And I think one of the things for women is we don't take care of ourselves. I really take care of myself. Again, a little change right now, but I have a massage. I have a facial, get my nails done. Now it's beautiful now. I walk on the beach at sunrise and jump in the ocean. I need that time for me, my time of meditation, that because most of my life, frankly, has been out in the world. But meditation brings me within. It's that place within that allows me to get centered, and then it gives me the energy to be able to go back out again. It's that balance, it's that yin, that yang together. So I think for women, men too, take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, how are you going to nurture others?
That's awesome. That's such a good message for women, especially. I want to end with 1,000 questions, but the last question that we have for you is, what do you want your legacy to be, Ina?
Well, I want my legacy to be that she made a difference, really. But I think
you have, by the way.
What?
And yes. You have. I have to say that right now. There's no doubt. I don't think, Yvonne, do you have a doubt?
No, absolutely. And I bump into people all the time who have met you and know you, or even have encounters with you, and they're that woman right there. I don't know what it is. She's amazing. And I tell everyone that my favorite thing about you, Ina, and I'm growing in this and learning it myself, is to speak without disclaimer. Like, there's never a disclaimer. It's like, bam, that's what I mean, because that's what and I'm like, man, makes you sit up a little bit taller.
And just some tips. Integrity. And what I mean by integrity is not morality, good, bad, right, or wrong, but it's about workability. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And if you're not going to, clean it up. That's what creates workability in life. Also, we get into all this drama, all this meaning in life. And I think that one of the valuable things from Landmark, there's reality, folks. Reality is reality, just like, this pen is reality. So, but we have all our stories about reality. That's what creates our suffering. That's what creates our suffering. So the more you can be in the world of what's so, and then what's next, it will give you power. Because anything else, quite frankly, comes from your past.
You taught me that, and I use it all the time. Yeah. All the time, for my personal and for my professional life. I absolutely use that. Yeah. So your legacy about making a difference, it's done. It's absolutely done. You continue to make a difference every single day. The day that you said yes to us for being our first chairwoman, when we didn't even know what the heck we were doing when we started this movement, and you said yes because you believed in what we had to say. In fact, I'd like to ask you maybe a bonus question. Why did you say yes to two strangers in 2012?
You weren't a stranger to me, Elizabeth. Obviously, I knew you through John, but when you shared your story, how could I ever say no to you?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Because I think all of us are here to support each other in whatever way we do. And I want to say one other thing, folks, because right now you said a thing a lot about loneliness. One of the things that COVID taught me, I don't know how much more time we have left, guys. But,
just 2 minutes.
Okay. I was in Reno because my son had 2 back-to-back surgeries in February. So I was stranded out there for taking care of him, but also because of COVID. But I, especially when he was in the hospital and dealing with all of that stuff, I had a lot of alone time. I'm really good being alone. And it was a very nurturing time for me. So I think one of the things that this world has also opened up for us is don't be afraid to be by yourself. And because it gives you the time to explore, who are you? What is your life for? What is your soul yearning for?
Yeah, great question.
And whatever that is, do what you love.
Great, great questions. And what is your why? You know, I think if you go back to what is your why and what do you want your legacy to be, I think that will propel you to continue on this journey, no matter what monkey wrenches get thrown your way. You know, that's really.
It may change. You know, it's the horizon is always moving more east, folks, right?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to change.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ina, for honoring us with your presence, with your story, your inspiration, your empowerment, and all of the support that you give us all the time. We absolutely adore you. Would you do the honors and get your lipstick, and let's do it together? Ladies, this is our work page. By the way, I found a wonderful Maybelline Super Stay for wearing a mask. Amazing. It does not come off. I'm not getting paid by Maybelline, by the way, but I just wanted to
But
give you a
we'll
little
take a
tip.
payment if you'd like to send one, Maybelline.
Yeah,
We'd be happy
make
to
it-
accept.
Exactly. Make it to suit stilettos and lipstick. Thank you, everyone. Continue to wear your lipstick attitude. Continue forging forward, and we will see you on our next episode of the Lipstick Attitude.
Ladies.
Love you. Bye, everyone. Bye.